Hi and welcome to this Omnitiles tutorial on how you can create a wood parquet floor based on one wood bitmap basically, or bitmap set. I've looked for free bitmaps, PBR bitmaps and materials, and actually I found this nice site and they allow to use the textures freely with just mentioning their source. And I found this bamboo wood PBR material, which includes corresponding maps for normal, albedo, etc. So I've downloaded this one, and I think it's quite nice to show you the tricks that I use to create such wood parquet floor. Okay, so let's dive in. Let me open Omnitiles, and I'll create a new set, and the first thing I'm doing is to load textures, and in this case I'm not adding them individually, but I'm just scanning a folder, and the one that I've downloaded, and if I select the folder I can just click hit load, and it automatically assigns the different maps which are included in the channels that are available: albedo, normal, roughness, ambient occlusion, and I've created a new one, metalness, and another one, FX, which I'm explaining a little bit later. You can change the channels here, add new ones, and depending on things you're adding here with the semicolon, the files are automatically loaded and filtered into the corresponding channels. So if the file name includes metal, in this case it's here, metal, it will automatically be loaded into the metalness channel. This is a preference setting which is saved, and the next time you open Omnitiles it will be loaded the same way. So when I open, when I have these maps loaded and then I create a shape, I currently don't see anything, and this is because the diffuse channel doesn't contain any bitmaps. The albedo and here I see the bitmap stretched into the shape. If I'm creating a different shape, you'll see the stretching here. So a little bit about the UV mapping. So you can change the UV mapping here if you select one shape and then switch to UV map, and then you can rotate, scale, or move the UV map. And this is important to know because this is how it all works. And I can also scale. In this case it doesn't really update the viewport, but the point is that I scaling of the UV maps for all shapes together, and I'm doing this in the general settings, just general settings, and then I'm changing the global UV size to 500%. Since it's connected, it automatically does this for U and V. The size of what I need. The point here is that I want to randomize this furthermore. So let me clear this pattern, and I'm loading one of the included patterns. For example, let's take this herringbone, and now you see that the UV maps or the bitmap is all the same. So we just have one loaded basically. But since we have some randomization settings, I can change this. For example, I can flip the bitmaps X and Y. I can random rotate, but I don't want this right now, by 90 degree, and I want to scale, and this is where it all gets interesting, because the UV size is much bigger than the shape size. I can stretch and move the included bitmap like I want to randomly, and this updates automatically if I change the tiling, so all of the shapes are random and UV maps are randomized. Now I can furthermore do some changes so I get a look that I like. This one maybe. Let's see. Maybe this. And then I can furthermore change the value, so it automatically randomizes the brightness. A little bit of hue, that's too much, but very slightly, and then some saturation as well. Okay, so this all updates. Of course, I can also add some random rotation, but that's not what I want right now. So this all updates depending on the size of the tiling. And let's adjust the material right now. So in the preview, right now I don't see anything, and this is because I need to set up the corresponding channels. Albedo. And then here I'm taking the metalness. It's almost black. And roughness, which is actually quite reflective, but we'll turn on this a little bit later. And for the height, I'll take normal. So if I zoom in, I can see some of the normal mapping already, and it's very rough, and that's because the preview is set to 1K. If I increase the preview, then it iteratively increases the resolution, and I get a little bit more of what it might look like later on in the rendering if you're using this. So let's take away a little bit of this. Okay, but I'm switching back to get a more responsive preview update to 1K for now. And so yeah, what we have right now is quite nice. Now I can check this with different lighting conditions. For example, the studio, which has some different lights for color reflections. I can blur this, I can change the light direction or exposure, but it's still, I think it's too reflective right now. And now I would like to add a little bit more of surface randomization, and I can do this with the FX channel that I already created. So I'm selecting the channel, and now I'm adding some maps, surface maps, which are included in the library. And I'll take the scratch maps, select all, hold shift and select, and open. Now I have these, and these will now be randomized in the random mode on a channel. Let's see, if I switch to 2D, I can also look at the FX channel, and I can see how this channel looks like. So back to the 3D channel, I'm setting up the roughness channel to use the FX. And I think that already gives you an idea of what this does. And I think it's a bit nicer actually. Now, if I don't like the plane, I can of course select the sphere or anything else to look at the material. But we can also load a custom model, and the custom model is empty in this case, and that's because I didn't define one already. Okay, so here I'm going to load the custom model, and I've got this on my desktop. And now we have a room, a simple room, that can be used to preview the material. So I mean, this is replacing the entire model with the material always, so no matter which model you use, the entire model will use the new material, but you get the idea. I think that's important, that you can load your own custom models. Okay, but I'll switch back to the plane, because I'd like to show you a little bit more on how you can adjust the pattern. Because right now we're using this pattern, but we can use any one. For example, the diagonal wood parquet, and another one would be this wood parquet. And yet you can adjust all the tiling, and it's still tileable, seamless tileable, and you see that it's all randomized. Now, if you'd like to have some gaps here, you can use the edge map. If I'm switching to 2D, you can choose the edge map, which is a procedural map basically. And here you see that this is not looking correctly, and this is just because I'm using a low resolution. If I'm switching to 4K, you see that it's much better. And this is just to for the preview basically. And if I want to adjust the edge map, I can do this in the general settings and as a percentage, lower it for example if I want the edges to be thinner. And then when I render out these, they will also render the edge map, and I can basically get what I need. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show. Maybe let's load a different pattern. I had a nice one. Yeah, this one, the interior talks curved, I think. That's a nice one, for example. Something you don't find so often. Or one more, this one. Yeah, and that's basically it. I think you get the idea. I hope you like it. If you don't use Omnitiles yet, feel free to take a look at the demo version. It's a 15-day full-featured version that you can try, and the entire library is included, and the only feature which is limited is the output resolution to 512 by 512 pixels. But other than that, you can render out the textures, use them, and create your own. Alright, see you in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.